Week 2 has concluded, and we are back. Fantasy Facts Machine with my guy, George, the Truth Factory Fuchs. And we decided that this week we're going to go through the running backs that should be available, could be available, or maybe even that you could, do a little trade for. Because it seems, based on the leagues I play in, that not everybody, but most of the people who are looking for something or kind of desperate for something are looking for a running back.
They're going to be valuable. I mean, in PPR leagues, half PPR leagues, you're going to start 2 in every single league you play in. So whoever's available right now, we'll discuss them real quick.
Yep. So the first guy who kind of stuck out to me this week, who's been on the waiver radar for seems like years now, is Tony Pollard of the Cowboys, who had more yardage than Zeke this week.
Yeah, he was used in a lot of different roles. I mean, they were talking about him playing in the slot a lot before the season started, and we're seeing him, catch balls. He's obviously a lot more explosive than Zeke right now. He had a 30, 40-yard run that was almost a touchdown. He finished off that drive as a touchdown. He's still, definitely in a timeshare, but especially with Cooper Rush now starting, he's going to be, a lot of shorter balls, a lot of balls to guys that need to create their own yardage, and Pollard's a great example to have. If he's available in your waiver wire, he's definitely the one guy I'm going for.
Yeah, so he's your top guy that kind of is a number 2.
Exactly.
If he becomes a number 1, he's going to be probably a really good number 1.
I think Zeke's washed up. I'm just not. We're out here. They call me the truth factor. I'm going to try to spit some truth at you. I think Zeke's washed up. So
the problem is they can't sit Zeke. It's a
lot of money on the bench. Yeah,
it's a lot of money. Another guy who hit the waiver wire in 2 out of my 4 leagues, very surprisingly, after 1 week of nothingness, is Cam Akers.
Yeah, that feels league dependent. I mean, they were really worried after week 1. He had 3 carries, a little better this week. He had. It
seemed. I mean, we talked about it last week. It seems like he wasn't going to play the rest of the season. Maybe besides garbage time.
Yeah, but he got some action this week. I mean, Henderson is still the one, but Akers was definitely used a little more.
He out carried Henderson 15-10. He probably wasn't. I mean, I don't think anybody probably noticed him because his stats weren't out there in the highlights because he didn't have much of anything, but he did have a lot more carries than Henderson this week.
I mean, yeah, the 3 yards of carry, it's going to be hard to get noticed, I suppose. But again.
And Henderson had the touchdown.
Yeah, but if Cam Akers is available, that's one of those, you kind of take a shot on it. There's not really going to be better value on the waiver wire. So if he's available, you bid a lot on him. It's unfortunate because it could backfire a lot of the time, but in terms of just value going forward, it's probably there. Yeah.
Another guy who kind of showed up this week was Tyler Allgeier.
Yeah, the rookie for the Falcons. Yeah. He was a guy that we talked about a little bit going into the season where they were going to split carries. We weren't sure what Cordel's role was going to be. Allgeier's, he's getting some touches. He's that offense moves the ball. Everybody's been saying it. They're not really scoring the ball a ton, but they're moving the ball a lot. And it was a very high scoring game against the Rams this week. Let's not give them, take that away from them. But he's somebody very interesting going forward because I don't think Patterson's role is really going to diminish, but he's going to be used in other.
But it diminished this week. He had a great game in week 1.
His carries diminished though, but he's still lining up in a bunch of different spots. He's again. There's some of these guys that are going to be used in all these crazy ways. The Curtis Samuels, the Taysom Hills, the Cordero Pattersons. Patterson's obviously on a different level. Although Samuel, with the week he had, might be the next one up.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I mean Samuel. I'm guessing if you watched the show, you picked him up last week and hopefully benefited from it. But if he's still out there, definitely get him. What about our old friend Raheem Mostert?
He got most of the carries. Edmonds was the receiving back for sure. Again, that worries me because that situation is split very, very much so.
But he put up a decent number. I think he had like 53, 54 yards on 11 carries. He's a runner.
Yeah, listen, I'm not getting, up in the middle of the night to pick him up off waivers. Let's put it that way. Yeah. He's solid.
But we got to think about, we're talking about people who are in desperate need of running backs.
Listen, if you're in desperate need, any of these guys are good. But Mostert's fine. Mostert's injury history is also terrifying. I mean, he's been injured every single year he's been in the league, it seems like. So
this is true. Maybe that's why they. But yeah, another guy who reminds me a little bit of Pollard's situation is Khalil Herbert on the Bears. Anytime he touches the ball, it seems like he picks up 10 plus yards. Seems like the team loves him, but they're playing their number one draft pick, David Montgomery, who's a great runner himself. Don't take anything away from him.
Listen, Monty, I'm going to defend Monty a little bit. He was averaging 9 yards a carry against the Packers. That was their entire offense.
He looked great.
Herbert's nice. The issue is when your quarterback throws 8 times a game and some of your values being the receiving back, you're going to lose a lot of that value. So it really diminishes, the Nyheim Hines
and
kind of factor.
Even at that, he only had 1 target, I believe, last week.
Fields completed 7 passes. It's as much as you want to blame it on other people, a lot of that is the offense. Also, they have, the Texans coming in it's going to be a very grinded out game. I'd probably pass on Herbert unless you're really desperate.
I'm big on Herbert, but that's another guy like Pollard. If Montgomery goes down, I think Herbert's going to have some huge games.
A great handcuff for sure. A lot of these guys have that handcuff value.
Yeah. Speaking of the Texans, not a surprising development, but an interesting one. Burkhead, who had 14 carries in week 1, which was a surprise to a lot of people, including myself, had 0 carries this week. And Dameon Pierce, who we all knew was going to be the guy, ended up getting the carries. But if you have Burkhead, you might want to throw him away from one of these guys we're mentioning, or you might want to keep him. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think Burkhead, I wouldn't overreact as week 1 at all. They're going to be a bad team. Everybody knows this. They drafted Pierce to play Pierce. Pierce looked good running the ball. I don't know how valuable he's going to be receiving. We're also worried a little bit about his kind of knowledge of like pass protection. Lovie Smith is a very old school guy. He wants guys that know what to do in every single play. Once Pierce kind of develops, he's going to be a lot more confident playing him on every down. Burkett's still going to be in there on some passing situations, but
they haven't looked as bad as I thought they were going to be.
They're going to be tough, but they're not a good team. You're not a good team. You're looking towards the future. You have an explosive rookie. You're going to play that rookie. Pierce is all the value.
What are your feelings on Nyheim Hines, who's another guy who's out there on a lot of waiver wires? His usage could go up. Matt Ryan seemed to be getting sacked, throwing picks, fumbling the ball almost every time I saw him.
Hines is just a very valuable handcuff. Listen, they said before the year they're going to use Hines more. Yeah. In full PPR leagues, like he should be on your bench. He should be on somebody's bench. I don't think he should be on the waiver wire by any means. But again, it's Jonathan Taylor's team. Pittman should be back next week. Let's hope that hat does some good because I have him in a lot of leagues. Hines is a good player, but Hines is a third down back through and through.
Yeah. One thing, just anybody who watched the Colts game, Matt Ryan had no time to get rid of the ball. And when the
Colts look terrible in every facet.
So that's the only thing that says to me, like maybe they use him a little bit just to get some bubble screens, not some bubble screens, but some screen passes out there to the running back just to get rid of it and have an option there.
Yeah, Taylor's not really a pass catching back. They don't really use 2 backs together too often, which kind of worries me a little bit. So again, I think he will be owned, but I don't really think he should be started unless you're getting real desperate.
Yeah. Another situation to keep your eye on is the Arizona Cardinals. James Conner went down with an ankle injury. They brought in Eno Benjamin, who everybody kind of had their eye on. He looked really good in week 1, but then they also brought in Darrel Williams, who had 8 carries, a touchdown. I think he averaged, over 7 yards a carry in his 8 carries.
Yeah, well, that game was just such nonsense that I'm not going to take anything away from it. That was the silliest game I've seen in quite some time. I'm also not
other than the Jets-Browns game.
No, that was magic. This was just bizarre. I'm not going to overreact or react at all. I don't really feel like the value in Benjamin or Williams really is there at all. Connor's going to be healthy.
I don't either. Let me get this straight. I don't either. But we're talking to people.
Desperation is a stinky color.
Who are still starting Elijah Mitchell,
Yeah, out of the 2, I think you have to go Benjamin just based on upside. Well, he's an explosive back. He'll get some pass catches.
All right.
Williams got more carries, but it seems like Connor is going to be good to go.
Yeah, Connor's injury is not major, but you never know. He may not play next week, and one of those guys might be worth a stream if you really need someone. And they're out there.
You don't have to spend any of your budget. Pick up one of these guys.
Pick them up. Anybody else that I did not mention?
Just from tonight's games, you can look at James Cook finally getting a little more touches, but again, that's just such a a timeshare there, you know.
I mean, I learned that he was Dalvin's younger brother, and that has to count for something.
Well, not the way Dalvin looked tonight. You don't want any part of that.
He might have outgained him.
Rough game for our Vikings. My Vikings. I apologize. Same thing in Philadelphia too. You know, Boston Scott looked great every time he touched the ball. He touched the ball 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, whatever it was. So it's really, really hard to attack these timeshares, and it's hard to say you need to get lucky and get one of these guys that goes down, but the value just really isn't there with these running backs. There's a few guys that are just going to be playing a ton of carries. As somebody who, you know, was bigger on Austin Eckler this year, for example, than most people, watching him and sweating him in fantasy has been infuriating because Josh Kelly comes in with 8 minutes to go in the first, and Sony Michel is getting goal line carries. But you know which guys are going to be used more, which guys are going to be used less. All these guys, they have that potential in them. We just don't know when it's going to come out. The ones we listed first, take a look at those.
Yep. So that'll do it. Those are some running backs to look for or look at in week 3 and beyond. You know, if nothing else, keep your eye on them. Put them on your watch list. And that'll do it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
Would be good.
Fantasy Facts Machine, spread the word. Appreciate you watching, and good luck next week. This is George, the Truth Factory Fuchs. I'm Kev Lou. Peace out.
My squad, wake up and pray. Turn on the tube, don't believe what they say. Get out my way, I got sleepers to play. Shooting my shot and I seen who you waved. You waving the flag, I'm just chasing the bag. All my team special, we taking it back. Doing our dance while you blaming the draft. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts.